Moments away from qualifying one, where we're going to get the first clue of how the three contenders are
13 turns, 8 of them right-handers, 5 left-handers. An average speed here of 133 miles an hour on the lap, as Michael Schumacher, championship leader, 3 points ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya, 7 ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, going into the final 2 Grand Prix of the season, takes to the track for his warming-up lap. Pole last year, Michael Schumacher, 1:10.790, and already, Martin, in the testing this morning, we saw the Renaults just a couple of tenths of a second off that pace. We have, though, since had quite a heavy rainstorm around about noon today. A couple of hours ago it finished, and certainly you would expect some little patches of damp still to be out on the track.
Yes, I don't think the track's going to be absolutely optimum condition. We did see some late 1-minute 10s, as you say, this morning in the open practice for the 4 teams that take a different approach to their season. Renault, Jordan, Minardi and Jaguar. But I'm on low fuel now. Of course, the track's not that rubbered in. We still should see something in the 10s. Some talk, though, of teams struggling to get their tyres up to temperature in these conditions, especially with such a long straight leading in to turn 1. When they get down there, they haven't got the grip that they need, so it'll be interesting to watch out for that. But Michael Schumacher, once again then, and the early runners, I think will be slightly disadvantaged here, no doubt about it, having to run early, which was the whole point of this qualifying one, making the championship contenders go first.
Exactly, the fast guys have the worst track conditions. Hopefully they'll be the best for the guys at the end, as Michael Schumacher then launches into his first flying lap of the afternoon. Runs a little bit wide there on the exit of that first sequence of corners. This is the corner where Martin and Mark highlighted that Schumacher had a spin a couple of years ago, and well, he's certainly not holding back, Michael Schumacher. He's really going for it.
Yes, he did struggle in turn 2 to get it to change direction, ran a little wide. He didn't go off the road, but would have had to hesitate before he could really nail the throttle pedal. And then up to, we've seen some tremendous straight line speeds here this morning, much faster than we've seen here before. You know, well over 320 miles an hour, 220 miles an hour they're doing this morning, 352 kilometers per hour. And the Williams BMW was significantly quicker than anything else. And I remember Michael Schumacher pulled a master stroke by running skinny wings and very low downforce in Monza, but that Ferrari is carrying a lot of downforce this afternoon.
Yep, it's always a compromise around Indianapolis. This fast bit here, you want minimum drag, low downforce, but obviously you need as much wing as possible for the twisty section. Michael Schumacher then, a 1:10.736, and from a standing start, that is a tremendous lap. We will see whether Montoya and others can beat that, but that's a couple of tenths faster than the Renaults managed this morning in testing, and that's not a bad way to start, is it, your weekend?
I suspect that's the fastest ever time around here, even in qualifying, for Michael Schumacher. Quicker than last year's pole, and we know just how fast the cars were last year. They have been progressively going faster and faster this year too. So a 1:10.7, Schumacher sets the benchmark. I think that's beatable, but they're going to have to put a good lap together. Ted is downstairs in the pit lane, and he's got something to tell us about Montoya.
Well, also, Martin, part of the factor contributing to that great lap, there's a really strong tailwind pushing the cars down the main straight here. That wasn't here in the first practice this morning, so I bet we're set for some really hot laps. Montoya's only just arrived at a decent setup, I can tell you. He's stuck some more downforce than he had this morning on for this lap. Let's see what it does for him.
Yes, he's got a top speed look of 352, 7 up on Michael Schumacher, even despite the extra downforce that Ted was telling us about. But Montoya then, it was a strange morning. It seemed as if the Michelin runners had a better grip, a better car, a better overall package in the full dry, but as soon as it rained, the Bridgestones were 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster. But at the moment, of course, they are on the dry tyres, and Montoya was over a tenth of a second up.
Yeah, they are. There's some talk about rain tomorrow, though, for the second qualifying session. As you say, Martin, the Bridgestones do seem to have quite an advantage. Montoya then going well, just over a tenth of a second faster than Michael Schumacher. Now it's 2.5 tenths of a second after 2 sectors. And really, of all the cars here this weekend, the Williams is showing the most differences. They have a huge step on aerodynamics, lots of details, front suspension, big step on the engine as well. A massive push from Williams to get Montoya to the title, to keep him in contention. There's the Colombian entourage, and 3.5 tenths faster than Michael Schumacher. He's blown a hole in that time. Juan Montoya means business here at Indianapolis this weekend.
So good straight line speeds, as Jim said at the beginning of the program, 20 seconds of full throttle, and Ted spotting the tailwind that they've now got along this long pit straight, and it's certainly helping them. So they're a lot longer at high speed with the tailwind. Coming back, the headwind helps you coming back. You're always turning into a corner and under braking. We know that the downforce gathers enormously with speed on a Formula 1 car. Remember, it's an aeroplane upside down. The wings push the car onto the track. They give you grip, but they give you drag too. And when you're under braking and turning in, you want more downforce, and a headwind helps you. Down the straight, a tailwind means you're pushing less of a hole in the air, much less drag.
Here comes Kimi Räikkönen then. What's his straight line speed? How does that compare with Montoya's? Well, it's well down, isn't it? You can see a huge difference there. Räikkönen still using the MP417D McLaren, the updated version of last year's car. And one wonders what this team might have achieved this season if all the effort had been thrown at developing this car rather than building the new car, which is never going to be seen racing. As you can see, just over a tenth and a half down on Montoya after the first sector alone. And, well, McLaren have got some steps on this car in terms of aerodynamics, some improvements, but at the moment they're not showing. It's just not quite fast enough, this car.
No, they're missing a fraction. He did the same first sector time as Michael Schumacher. We know that the McLaren is easier on its tyres than the Williams, and that might just hurt them around here because they're struggling to build tyre temperature. Räikkönen then still holding in there somewhere though, isn't he? The quickest man so far through the middle sector. The track's coming in nicely, and this is going to be somewhere in the zone. Super fast lap times we're seeing here this afternoon for qualifying one. It's so easy for the driver through there. We wondered when we first came to Indy just what a Formula 1 car would be like. He goes third. He lost a lot of time in that final sector. So that's where Montoya was so supremely fast with that straight line speed that he has. But not bad for Räikkönen. Everybody then in the 1 minute 10s.
So that's the decisive factor then in your view here. It's the straight line speed. I mean, the final sector really is all about the speed up onto the banking out of turn 13, isn't it? And carrying it across the start-finish line.
It is. You need the downforce through these turns. You saw Räikkönen there really fighting the car very hard. And for a second time too. I mean, he really did... he pulled a good lap time out of the bag considering how hard he was fighting the car. But imagine, Montoya's got 7 kilometers per hour more than Michael. It'd be so easy to pass Michael down the pit straight into turn 1. And that could be very decisive through the Grand Prix itself.
Well, we heard Sam Michael of the Williams team saying that Montoya really needs his pole position. He wants to control the Grand Prix this weekend. Here's Ralf Schumacher, his teammate. He's slightly faster in a straight line than Montoya. And the $10 million question is this guy going to see out the weekend? In Monza, we saw he did the Friday qualifying and then felt unwell. Still a symptom of that big accident he had in testing at Monza. And he took no further part in the weekend. Marc Genet stood in for him. Some suggestion yesterday that Ralf still isn't 100%. He says he's feeling a lot better, but it's going to be very important for Montoya whether or not Ralf Schumacher races, because this is another very fast car that can get in the mix and get involved in the championship battle.
So now we're into the slower part of the racetrack. A blocked front right there. Ralf just missing the apex slightly, but recovered it nicely for the left-hander, turn 10. 11 then. Any speed you can take through here will pay you back all the way down the long pit straight and through this turn 13. A 10th up then. He's been good through the middle sector. 3/10 faster than Montoya through the middle sector. Ralf Schumacher surely will go P1 with this one. Is he into the low 10s or even a late 9? It is a 10-2. So we're seeing some spectacular times this afternoon.
Ralf Schumacher bounces back. He is in business, and the crowd appreciate that. A great lap by Ralf Schumacher. As Martin says, some amazingly fast times here. Who'd have thought we'd see a low 1 minute 10 on low tanks? This qualifying run, remind you, is run on very, very low fuel. Tomorrow afternoon's session, which decides the grid for the race on Sunday, they have to carry the fuel which they'll start the Grand Prix. So this is the one where we find out the outright speed of the cars.
Yes, they don't have to run on low fuel. They can run on any fuel they like. But obviously, if you want a quick time and give yourself a better running slot for qualifying too, you may as well be on your low fuel. But you know, you might argue that, hey, why not practice for tomorrow? Let's run high, low, but it'll put you out of sync for your running order. So yes, it is like a setup we would normally expect in the old days of qualifying, where they had 4 goes at it in the absolutely optimum setup and the lowest weight they could get away with. There's another car then, 5 miles an hour effectively slower down the straight. That's a lot.
Certainly is a lot. Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari. The team did over 2,500 kilometers of testing. That's 1,400 miles of testing last week in 3 different locations. A lot of work on the engine as well. Barrichello's straight line speed doesn't seem to have hampered his first sector time, does it? That's 2.5 tenths of a second faster than Ralf Schumacher, and that's a very, very good effort.
Yes, and they are carrying a lot of wing on that Ferrari, which should help Barrichello through this middle sector. As we saw, he was much slower down the straight, but he made it up in the first sector through the corners. And theoretically then, and it is, he still should be much quicker. Will he now lose some of that as he heads to the line? He's got to lose a little bit of it, but that's a lot in hand, isn't it? This will be a 9.
It could well be a 9, and it shows that the track is getting faster and faster. As I said, we had some rain a few hours ago, and clearly it's drying out and getting faster, and Barrichello gets into the 1-minute 9s. The man who won here controversially last year across the finish line in a formation finish with his teammate Michael Schumacher. And here in the first qualifying session for Sunday's Grand Prix, he's the first man to go around this Indianapolis track in under 1:10. A remarkable lap by him. And Louise is with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Juan Pablo, have you managed to get the setup where you wanted for this afternoon?
I kind of guessed at the setup more than anything else. You know, I did 3 laps in the drive this morning, so I was just going for do a decent lap and see what happens. You know, there's a lot left in the car, so I'm very pleased about that. You know, I think we got a very good car for the weekend, and you know, I'll be surprised if it's the quickest time today. But you know, main important thing is go after the main rivals, and I did that already, so it's good.
You do appear to have fantastic straight line speed as well. How important do you think that's going to be this weekend?
Well, last weekend we went the one way. This weekend we went the other, and it seems to be working quite well here.
Laid back as ever, Montoya then, and the Ferrari mechanics really celebrating. You wonder why, to a certain extent, James, don't you? I mean, this sorts the running order out for tomorrow. It does demonstrate stunning speed, though. He's 9 tenths faster than Michael Schumacher, and in a 1-minute 9.8, easily the fastest man on the track.
In his car, he will go out next after this man, Fernando Alonso, in the Renault. At the moment, Rubens Barrichello is fastest, with Ralf Schumacher second, Montoya third, Michael Schumacher fourth, and Kimi Räikkönen in 5th place. 9 tenths of a second Rubens Barrichello was faster than his teammate Michael Schumacher, Martin, and that's not just the track improving, is it, surely? I mean, that's a huge amount for it to improve in just over 10 minutes.
Well, surely the track is better. We know Michael made a small mistake in turn 2, but it is a tremendous amount. So that'll be some head scratching. Michael Schumacher will be checking out. Look at that. 17 kilometers per hour slower down the straight. It doesn't look that big a rear wing on the Renault, does it? That is tremendous difference. Alonso really struggling down the straight line here. I thought I saw a splash or two of water on the camera, so maybe there's still some moisture in the air. And Alonso then, look, hardly anything down though, so he's certainly got plenty of grip. As we've seen with this Renault, it's got a tremendous front end on it, and it's giving him some great mid-corner speeds through the middle part of the racetrack. Very much a track of 2 halves here, where it's sort of all Mickey Mouse on one side and absolutely banzai flat on the other. More spots of rain, look, on the camera, looking over Alonso's left shoulder, and here he goes then into that final sector, the 9-degree banking of the Indianapolis racetrack, and they ride up over that white line. And where is he going to be? Now it is raining out there on the track, and this should be in the zone somewhere if he hasn't lost too much in the final sector. And Alonso then with a 10.5 goes 4th ahead of Michael Schumacher and Räikkönen, and it is starting to spit with rain.
And crucially, he splits Montoya and Michael Schumacher in tomorrow's order, so Schumacher will go, well, at least 5th from last, with Alonso after him and then Montoya. That could be quite decisive tomorrow afternoon. Be very interesting to see. Ted, what can you tell us?
It is only spotting with rain, though, down here, guys. It's not the kind of rain we had this morning, not the kind of rain that's going to cause massive trouble for David Coulthard, next man out. He, by the way, still says that the car's just not quick enough to be up there with the top guys this weekend, but it is well balanced. He's also saying there's most time to be found at turns 2 and 4, which is quite interesting. The car will apparently stick more than you think through there. Let's see how it does in the rain, though.
Yes, and when you're doing 350 350 kilometers per hour, whatever, it's 337. He's got a lot of wing on that. It just seems like it's streaming with rain. The rain is just streaming off your visor, and you begin to convince yourself the track is slippery as well. It's a real head thing that you've got to get out of and believe that the car's going to stick and it's going to grip. And Coulthard is definitely experienced enough to know that. He's a 10th down on Barrichello's very fast first sector. But he's the second fastest man then, Coulthard, in sector 1 at the moment.
Yep, the track definitely has been improving. Few spots the range is dropping, and it's interesting, isn't it, Martin, to listen to the throttle, how long they have to wait before they can really nail it around this slow, twisty section. It must be enormously frustrating for the drivers.
Yeah, Coulthard's car appears to be putting its nose into the corners quite nicely. He's a quarter of a second adrift, but remember, Barrichello's 4/10ths faster than anybody else. So Coulthard with a chance then here of going up into P2. He's got to beat a 1:10.2 to do that. But we know that BMW Williams have been very fast down this sector, so it's going to be nip and tuck for Coulthard, and P4 it is. He lost a lot of time in the final sector, ahead of Alonso, Schumacher and teammate Raikkonen though.
Tell you how close it is. Second place Ralf Schumacher, 1:10.222, and then a 10th slower than that Montoya, half a 10th slower than him Coulthard, a 10th slower than Coulthard is Alonso, and another 10th and a half slower than him is Michael Schumacher, who's dropping down the order all the time now. Coulthard has bumped him down into 6th place. Ralf Schumacher second though, he's now with Louise.
Ralf, we're judging by that performance, you're back to 100%. Are you feeling that way yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I feel reasonably well. I mean, don't know how I will feel tonight, but obviously I'm reasonably happy with what we achieved today. My lap wasn't good at all, so it's a shame. I think we could have been on pole, but anyway.
Juan Pablo seemed to think that you've got a very good car this weekend, that there was more to come from it. Would you say the same?
It's definitely the case. I mean, we have the stronger package, no doubt about it. And it's going to be a very tough race for Ferrari if they want to win it.
What is that all about, James? I don't know how I'll feel tonight. I mean,
maybe he's going for a curry.
At 1:10.2 he's done. Clearly the car's good. You can't wing it around in a Formula 1 car. You can't just get away with it somehow. I don't understand that. But anyway, he says he might not be feeling that good tonight. Meanwhile, Trulli looking very handy in the first sector. That's a stunning first sector time.
We've seen it time and time again with Jarno Trulli, the one-lap specialist. Very quick this morning in the free practice session. Fastest of all in the first timed session as well this morning. And Renault really have come here, put the car on the track for the testing session, got 2 hours of track time, really dialed their car into this racetrack, and they are hiding the fact that, look at that, almost half a second faster. They're really giving an awful lot away in terms of engine horsepower, but they're making up for it in terms of grip, aerodynamics, and a well-balanced chassis. And once again, the Friday morning testing paying off for the Renault team. This is going to be clearly fastest today. Jarno Trulli goes for the line, and a 9.566. Almost 3/10ths of a second faster than Rubens Barrichello. What a stunner that was.
Yeah, a full second faster than his teammate. Where are they pulling these times out of? It's so difficult to really see where he's got a clear advantage. Car's handling well. He was able to ride the curbs on the apexes and still keep good apex speed. So as ever, that Renault is very compliant at the front end. Doesn't make the car deviate when he uses the curbs, and it minimises the angle of the corner. But Trulli really with a sensational lap time there, and we are definitely in that sweet spot. A little bit of moisture in the air, you get a more dense charge into the engine, a bit more fuel, tailwind down the pit straight, and you do get some serious grunt out of your engine.
Well, we're starting to run out of contenders that are capable, have a car capable of going faster still. Mark Webber, possibly the last of them. I'd be surprised if he can get himself into the 1-minute 9s in this Jaguar. They are not massively optimistic about their prospects here this weekend. Locked into a battle with BAR and Toyota for 5th in the constructors. They're just 1 point behind BAR here, and look at that. Once again, the straight line speed of that Ford Cosworth engine, really not an awful lot to write home about, giving away 15 kilometers an hour in a straight line. So they were slow down in the main speed trap at Monza as well, weren't they?
Yeah, hope he hasn't got a bad back, because he'll be feeling it. He really did catch the curbs in a nasty way on the exit of turn 2. A third of a second adrift, the blink of an eye, but that's a lot today. That's, you know, the sort of speeds we're seeing around here. It's always quite close, of course. You're talking of 70 seconds for a lap, and a lot of it is flat out. So we do tend to see very close times and grids 3/10 will cost you a couple of rows here.
Well, certainly half a second separating Ralf Schumacher in 3rd place and Raikkonen in 8th, just half a second. Looks like Webber is going to struggle to break into the top 8 here, and 9th place likely, I would think, for the Australian.
I think it'd be better than that, James. I think he's doing better than that. Let's see how it is as he comes over the line. He's had a reasonable middle sector. The track is really coming strong, and Webber then goes P3, indeed, just half second adrift. So everything is working out nicely for these later runners. Michael Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen down in 8th and 9th, and that's out of 9 runners.
Amazing. Terrific final sector for Mark Webber and Jaguar. Trulli fastest, Barrichello 2nd, Webber 3rd, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Montoya 5th, Coulthard 6th, 7th Alonso, 8th Michael Schumacher, 9th Kimi Raikkonen, and Ted has news for us.
Well, James, I think Webber and Trulli's performances really is 100% down to the morning testing they did. Webber did 49 laps, Trulli did 43. That's almost a whole race distance, and they've got their cars sussed in the dry. Everyone else, as Juan Pablo Montoya said, only had about 3 or 4 runs before it started chucking it down. That's where they're winning, these Friday testing teams.
Yes, it's a 73-lap race, but it certainly did give them a head start, especially as half of the 1-hour session for the main teams was in wet conditions. So no doubt about it, as Ted says, it has paid dividends for them. Button then, he's a dozen kilometres an hour slow down the straight. How can he make it work? The second Bridgestone team to run this afternoon after the Ferraris then. And you have to say Jensen's driving very nicely at the moment.
Certainly is. Bridgestone done an awful lot of work. Button 6/10 of a second though down on Jarno Trulli, and the tail out there for Jensen. Bridgestone have done a lot of work, and they've got a new tyre, a new concept. And talking to a number of the teams who run the Bridgestone tyre, they think it's quite a significant step forward. The first really significant step that Bridgestone have made for some time, and they're running it here this weekend. So we'll see on the Ferrari, the BAR and the Sauber whether it makes much of a difference. But Jensen Button not awfully quick in the opening sector, and you could see that tail out moment for him has cost him a lot. Also a few more spots once again on the camera. I wonder if it is getting a little bit more damp out there again.
Difficult to tell from up here. You need quite a bit more rain than that to make the track slippery, I would suggest. But Button then, not one of his final laps, and really he's the first driver to not pull out some kind of sensational lap time for some time now. We've got a really topsy-turvy afternoon here. Louise is with Rubens Barrichello, current 2nd place man.
Well done, Rubens. That was quick. First man under 1:10.
Yeah, it's been a great lap, and the car felt quite good. I quite enjoyed the lap, and it's raining now, so it feels good.
Just talking about the rest of the weekend, I was just speaking to Ralf Schumacher. He seems to be of the opinion that they are the team to beat this weekend. What would you say to that?
Well, as I said yesterday to some of our friends, I think we got to wait and see, because could be, but we are trying our best to be the best car out there. We just have to keep our focus, really concentrate, feet on the ground, and then we'll see. I mean, it doesn't really matter to say who is who right now. I mean, what is matter, it's the 10 points on Sunday night.
Thanks.
Too early to call, I would say, as to who's got the upper hand so far in this Indianapolis Grand Prix weekend. Trulli, though, certainly is easily the fastest.
For the American Grand Prix at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where Jarno Trulli is just over 2/10 of a second faster than Rubens Barrichello at the front for tomorrow's, going the order for tomorrow's qualifying session. And more importantly, Trulli is 1.2 seconds faster than Michael Schumacher. It's been an odd session where the track conditions have certainly played their part in what is certainly looking like a topsy-turvy order. Imagine if that was the grid for Sunday's Grand Prix. Wouldn't that be fun? With the championship contenders 5th, 8th and 9th. But at the moment, Ralph Furman there, waiting to see what his teammate Giancarlo Fisichella in the Jordan can do. Had an engine blow up, a spectacular one, coming out of that final corner there this morning, Fisichella, and his face told the story of frustration. He will be glad, I think, to move on to pastures new and try and invigorate his career once again, giving away just over 20 kilometres an hour in a straight line to the Williams of Ralf Schumacher.
Fisichella then about to cut the timing beam for the first sector, and let's see what he's down. It's a full second within 22 seconds. That's a lifetime in this game. Fisichella has been pulling some spectacular laps out of the bag. Doesn't really show up because his car's not really working that well at the moment. Had a big blow up this morning and lost quite a lot of time. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do through the middle sector. Button too on the Bridgestones had a poor middle sector. He's down in 1 minute 11.8. Interestingly, Fisichella's 4/10 quicker than Button in the second sector, 4/10 slower in the first. So they're going to be nip and tuck as he heads to the line. It's such a short lap here for a Formula One car. And the long turn 13. That's where Barrichello had a big accident last year when he had a failure of the car. And he does go 4/10 slower than Button. So Fisichella, 11 out of 11 runners. Ted is down in the pits.
And that lap was set in Fissi's original race car. He actually did want to take the spare car, but the T car has Ralf Furman's name all over it this weekend, so he wasn't able to do that. By the way, it is still drizzling. In fact, as I speak, it's starting to get slightly heavier rain down here. Poor Cristiano De Mata, next man out.
Yeah, that is tough news for Cristiano De Mata. There he is, last year's car champion, a man who's got a lot of experience of racing over here in the United States, but ironically has never raced at Indianapolis Motor Speedway before in either direction. This main straight goes the opposite way to the Indy 500. But De Mata having his first taste of Indy, and unfortunately for him, I can see the rain now hammering down outside our commentary box window on the main straight, and certainly the conditions the worst that they have been now in the last 30 minutes of this session. Nobody has encountered what De Mata is encountering.
That's a bit of a light relief there for Michael Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen, in my view, James, because if you look at the remaining runners this afternoon, the two Toyotas, I think, given the way the track appeared to be just getting faster and faster, had a chance of beating them. Would have put Michael back into 10th, Raikkonen back to 11th, but the rain has let him off the hook on that one.
Just gives you an illustration of how the new rules, single lap qualifying, can affect things. We've got a very tight championship battle. Imagine if tomorrow the qualifying session happened like this. You had rain halfway through the session. The slow guys will be going first, the quicker guys going last, and potentially you could have a very jumbled up grid with your championship contenders not starting from the front row of the grid like they did in Monza, but starting from way back.
Yes, De Mata slightly faster than Fisichella, and Louise is with Mark Webber.
How was that, Mark?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. It was a bit difficult to judge the braking areas. Obviously, no one really had a shot at low fuel on fresh tyres because of the rain. So I sent it in there pretty deep into turn one, and it had a lot of grip, so I was really happy with it. And just got it home nice and tidy at the end. So it's good to get a reasonable slot for tomorrow, because maybe it's wet in the morning, and being out late might be a benefit, but you never know, it might rain in the middle of the session. But we're happy today.
I love to hear that. I mean, it looks all supremely professional, doesn't it? And then you find out the driver's sitting there thinking, well, I'll give it a try at that and see if it works or not. But that's how you do it. It's you pick a braking point and maybe add 5 meters to it, so you go a bit deeper into the corner because you're on fresh tyres, low fuel, as Mark said, for the first time during the day. And it's great to know that he was prepared to have a bit of a go.
I love the way he used the word send it in there. It's like just hurl the thing in. He's actually sitting in the middle of it at over 200 miles an hour, just trying to pick out an ideal braking point. These guys certainly are brave. Heinz-Harald Frentzen then, coming down the main straight. Not a great morning for either of the two Sauber drivers. Frentzen was 19th and Heidfeld 18th this morning. The team insist that they have made quite a lot of improvement with this car. They're starting to unlock the potential. Had a very good test last week in Spain, but certainly judging by this morning's times, that's not been borne out. Let's see if Frentzen can, well, the rain is still falling outside. He's on slick dry weather tyres. You can see the grooved dry tyres, and certainly having to work the steering wheel a bit.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time today. I mean, he never really hooked up with the racing lines, getting a bit slippery by the looks of it. Picking up on something you said, James, a lot of people think that with this single car qualifying, you know, maybe the championship could be decided on a running order, and that's not correct. It's not how championship should be decided. But I don't follow that logic, and now you see Frentzen turn 3/4 seconds adrift. But I don't follow that logic, because it can be decided on a back marker, a sticking wheel on a pit stop, a dodgy refueling nozzle. You know, everybody's got the same chance out there. Frentzen, did he appear to be even getting off it in the final turn? Getting quite wet out there then. He really got out of the throttle, even on the banking. 13 out of 13. Panis is out in the Toyota now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anybody starts to think about switching to the intermediate tyres, the wet tyre. Less and less grippy, more and more moisture falling on it, and well, looking out the window now, it's absolutely gunning it down here at Indianapolis, and if Panis isn't on wet tyres, he's going to have a very, very tricky minute and a half ahead of him.
Now this is an interesting one. We haven't seen this, have we, so far this year, where the weather conditions change so dramatically between leaving the pits in the allocated minute and actually starting your lap. Now you can see little rooster tails coming off the tyres in certain part of the track. Panis then turning in surprisingly fast, actually, considering he must surely be on dry tyres. Difficult to see when they're at speed, but I'd imagine I'd be very surprised if he went out on wet, because that rain only just started. He's certainly got plenty of grip though, hasn't he?
He may have had a weather forecast to tell him that it was getting heavier. I must say, just looking at it, it's very difficult from this high camera angles. It seemed to be more than the normal number of grooves, which is kind of an indication that that he might be on the slicks. Yeah, look, you see, there's not 4 even grooves there. He's taken, that's pretty much crystal ball stuff then from Olivier Panis. He read it right, and he is on the right tyre at the moment.
He is indeed, and Panis then, a good call there from Toyota to see that weather coming in, and the teams do have very sophisticated forecasting. They don't always get it right, of course. Panis, I was amazed how much grip he got under braking into turn 1. Now we know why, but this is not a sensational lap time. We saw 1 minute 15s in the wet this morning was the quickest by Jenson Button. Let's see what Panis is doing on the wet Michelins. And again, then we're seeing them some 2 to 2.5 seconds away from the pace. That is a problem they've got, Bridgestone Michelin, this weekend, no doubt about it. In semi-wet or in the sort of early stages of the rainy conditions, Michelin are nowhere. Ted is in the pits.
Yes, Martin, I can confirm Olivier Panis was on intermediate. That's wet weather Michelin tyres. They've got a very good forecasting system at Toyota. It showed the rain was coming in much heavier, did its job very well, as has BAR, by the way. Jacques Villeneuve also out on intermediate Bridgestones. But I'm wondering if that's enough in this heavy rain, actually. I'm not sure it is. How long before they call the extreme wet weather, I wonder?
They have said that they've put that on the computer just now, Ted. Extreme weather tyres may be used for the remainder of this session. But unless there's a lot of standing water, those Bridgestone Inters are just fine. They seem to be good in just about any conditions, almost to the point where it's dry. And especially at high speed like that, they've got a tremendous amount of downforce, so it's not a problem. It's only when you get standing water, you need the deeper wet.
Look at that. Even though it's absolutely pouring with rain, Villeneuve still 15 kilometers an hour slower down the main straight than Ralf Schumacher was in the dry. Absolutely no quarter given for the fact that the track is wet from Jacques Villeneuve. He's really, really on it. And obviously, when you're going in a straight line, I guess grip isn't really an issue. It's more when you get to throw the anchors out at the end of the straight and trying to get it to turn into turn 1. But Villeneuve really pushing hard.
Yeah, it must be frustrating, isn't it? I've been there myself, when you're just waiting for your turn, you go out to qualify and you've just called it wrong, or you missed the slot, you're waiting for traffic, whatever. It is very, very frustrating behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car. You know, however brilliant you drive, you'll be 4 seconds off the pace or something, or in this case, they're going to be something around 7 or 8 seconds away from the ultimate pace, and already then he's 7.6 down.
Well, frustration is something that Villeneuve has learned an awful lot about in the last couple of years. He said yesterday in the press conference that he's not enjoyed his racing the last couple of years. He can't remember 2 years he's enjoyed less, in fact. So still a lot of question marks about what he's going to be doing next year. He goes 15th and at last at the moment of the 15 runners, Jacques Villeneuve. Doesn't seem to be a way back for him at the BAR team, although Dave Richards says they are still talking. But he claims he's had no offers from anywhere else, so we wait to see whether Jacques Villeneuve will still be in Formula 1 next year. And the first man really to go out onto this wet track was Cristiano D'Amata. He's talking now with Louise.
Cristiano, the weather's sort of gone bad at the wrong time for you, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's nothing I can do, really. Not really worried about the qualifying today. What I have to worry about, I think this morning we could see that we have a reasonable car for this track. So what I have to worry about is to get some good experience in this track. Of course, obviously with the wet, dry this morning, and now in qualify, I haven't been able to be 100% with the circuit. I still have tomorrow morning 2 45-minute sessions, see if I can learn the circuit properly then.
What do you think of this place?
I've been here before, not for this track. I mean, not for racing, but to watch. I don't think there's any other track in the world like.
And the Sauber goes out on track. Jarno Trulli's time, a 1 minute 9.566, set in the dry before the rain started. Still the fastest, and astonishingly, it's 2.3 seconds faster than he went in qualifying last year. That's how much progress the Renault team have made. He's talking now with Louise.
Jarno, well done. We thought Rubens was quick until you went out there.
I thought I'm going to be quick because the car this morning felt good. And as soon as I hit the track, the car was there, you know, the grip was there, and the car was rolling into the corner very well. And I was really enjoying my driving.
We had rain in the 1 hour session this morning, but you'd obviously had 2 hours track time before that. How much of an advantage was that for you?
It was definitely a big advantage for us because for 2 hours we did improve the car, test the tires, step by step we basically tried to get the best out of the car for today. So we are all pleased about our result.
Do you think you can keep this P1 in final qualifying?
I think it's possible, even if we have to work hard, as everybody else will improve a lot their performance tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny, although not that surprising. Jarno Trulli said, interestingly, yeah, I really enjoyed myself today. And that's exactly what Barrichello said, who's second as well. I enjoyed my lap. And when the car's working, it is a pleasure. Here goes Nick Heidfeld then. 16th to run this afternoon. And look at the amount of water that's now falling as he comes off the banking of turn 13 over the line. Now you're starting to get drag as well. Lifting that water up into the sky and dispersing it slows your car down. That's why he's 32 kilometers down.
Still only just a whisker under 200 miles an hour in the pouring rain. Nick Heidfeld had one of his best races in Formula One here a couple of years ago when he lost 3 of his gears, but still managed to bring the car home in the points. Very proud of himself that day, and quite rightly so. He could do with making his mark again this weekend somehow. At the moment he's being overlooked by a number of teams as they look to fill up the vacancies for next year. And just look at the car twitching as it sits up on top of the water. Full attention, full concentration here for Nick Heidfeld. This is treacherous stuff.
Yes, and interestingly, they were just putting full wet tyres on Furman's car before he went out. They've been seeing the amount of water pouring off the tyres of these cars. So full wets for Furman. Heidfeld, let's compare him with Frentzen. Frentzen did a 30.1. It's much slower in the middle section than his teammate. That's just because there's so much water going down.
Out of the final corner, just a plume of spray. It looks like a boat rather than a Formula One car. Across the finish line he goes.
It's definitely the right call on Jordan's behalf to send Ralf Furman out on those full wets. Just an update on his health, by the way. Spoke to him just before the session. He says he's feeling fine. The test he had at Silverstone last week really helped. He's back into it. None of that vertigo that put him out of the last race in Italy. But guys, the bloke I feel sorry for, of course, is Justin Wilson. He's the only Michelin runner in these last guys running in this wet qualifying session.
Yes, and Justin needs an opportunity to shine at the moment, doesn't he? And 2 races to go in this season. He's fighting for his Formula One career, I think, in many respects. And today would have been a great chance for him, I think, to with his teammate up there in P3, Webber third at the moment in the sister Jaguar. We were looking over the shoulder then of Ralf Furman as he was. A pity we don't get more onboard stuff. Here we go again, down into turn 1, just adjusting his belts a little bit and stay away from the wall a little bit. It tends to be slippery up there, and I think you get a bit of drag if you go too close to the walls at high speed with the air that's coming off the side of the car. Furman then neat and tidy through turn 1 and 2, braking very early for 4. He knows if he goes in there too deep, he'll block the front tyres. And that is the intermediates that have gone on Verstappen's Minardi that's about to go out. Furman then a 1:24.9. That's the slowest first sector time we've seen.
Yeah, it does seem to be drying out a little bit and brightening up outside. The driving rain that we could see before is no longer coming down, although the track surface, you can see, is still absolutely sodden. Doesn't seem to be raining particularly hard anymore, so maybe that's the decision that the Minardi team have taken. You can see there's quite a strong breeze as well, drying the track as well, and I think Verstappen's taken the view that intermediate Bridgestones are the better tyre to be on. Furman's gone with the full wets, and let's see what it does for him. He was the slowest in the first sector and slowest as well in the second sector, so almost certainly going to go 17th as he goes across the start-finish line. Look how close to the wall they get. Ralf Furman goes 17th, just a whisker under 10 seconds off the pace of Jarno Trulli.
Full throttle through the last corner though. That banking certainly helps you to do that, but don't really understand why he was so much slower than the other wet runners there. The first Michelin runner, the first Bridgestone runner, I think, with the full wet tyre, mind you. Let's see what Verstappen does with his intermediates. He's out there now, halfway through his out lap, as Furman continues his way on his in lap into the pits. Just one flying lap allowed this afternoon.
Remind you that the order that they finish today will be reversed for tomorrow. It decides the order that they go out to tomorrow's session. So at the moment, the last man to go out will be Jarno Trulli. Just before him, Rubens Barrichello, Mark Webber as well. Championship contenders, Montoya is 5th at the moment, 8th is Michael Schumacher, and 9th Kimi Raikkonen, and they are separated, you can see, as Verstappen going quite slowly here. I wonder if he's got a problem.
Yeah, he's going extremely slowly, so I'll be surprised if he boots it into surely he needed a bit of tyre temperature before, and it looks as if Verstappen is going to once again pit immediately then. So Verstappen not going to complete a lap time this afternoon.
I saw a little shake of the head from Jos Verstappen. This has happened before, hasn't it, to the Minardi team? They've had quite a lot of reliability problems on this single lap qualifying. So the first man to run into trouble, really. It's amazing given the conditions we've had today. We've had a few sideways cars, but no one's really thrown it off the racetrack or had too many technical problems. It's remarkable, really, the standard of Formula 1 these days.
It is indeed. Lots of talk that Minardi is about to be taken over by an Italian consortium, so it could well be a change of ownership. I don't know if Paul Stoddart stays involved in the team. I think it depends who takes over, is my understanding, but may well be new hand on the helm there for next season. So we didn't find out, unfortunately, if his Bridgestone Inters would remotely live with those conditions as Justin Wilson prepares on the wets. I think what Michelin use are their tyres, their wets and their Inters are the same pattern, just with a deeper tread. And I think unless it gets absolutely deep water, they stick with the one tyre, the lighter treaded tyre. Ted, what can you tell us?
I'm just by Jos Verstappen's car as he's come in. I tell you, it sounded rough. I think it was either a massive traction control failure or maybe an exhaust broke. Actually, he's passing me now. Let's get a quick word. Jos, what was it?
I don't know. I mean, I left the pits and then the car didn't run. No, nothing worked, so had to come in.
It's very disappointing. It's the second race in a row now.
Yes.
Thanks, Jos. Back to you guys.
Yeah, you know, you turn up here on a Tuesday, you're in the gym, you're preparing yourself, you're getting over the jet lag, and you get pumped up as the weekend approaches, and then that happens. I can understand his open disappointment and frustration there.
Certainly can. Here's another man who will be feeling a fair degree of frustration, I imagine, that he doesn't have a dry racetrack on which to express himself as his teammate Mark Webber did. Webber currently 3rd, just over 1:10 to go around this lap, but Justin Wilson will be happy if he gets around in anything around 1:17 in these conditions, and once again he's running out of opportunities to show his class, to show what he can do. He's had a few reliability problems in this second Jaguar. It does seem to be a car that has a bit of a curse on it, doesn't it? If you think back to all the drivers who've been the number 2 in this team, Bertie, De La Rota, going back to the Stewart days, Magnussen, Verstappen. Nobody's really managed to get much change out of the second car in this team, and Wilson hoping to be able to do something. Well, all he can really do now is try and put the Toyota Olivier Panis in the shade.
Well, they're on the oval circuit now. Look at all the cracks in the road. It's a strange surface here, quite an old one. But they tend to scrape to get rid of the bumps. It's got a lot of grip if you look at it, but also a lot of cracks and sort of indentations in it. A curious surface. But Wilson then, he needs to do, what does he need to do? Something around a late 23 or a very early 24-second first sector. He's not done that, has he? So, not working out well. He needs to be, he wants to be one of the, he could show something by being the fastest wet runner of the afternoon. That means he's got to do a 17.6 to beat Panis in the Toyota.
Exactly. Well, he was 25 miles an hour slower down the first straight, the main straight, than Ralf Schumacher was in the dry, and that's the slowest straight line speed we've seen here this afternoon, even in the wet conditions. Second sector, has it gone any better for him? And well, he's over 8 seconds slower, and he's on the kind of pace, he's on the pace of Olivier Panis in the middle sector of the lap, so let's see what he can do in the final sector. Perhaps this track now just beginning to dry out ever so slightly, even though it doesn't look so that it is from the pictures there, the amount of spray flying off the back of the cars. He goes 18th, and well, only Jos Verstappen, who hasn't set a time, behind him. So once again, frustrating afternoon for Justin Wilson.
Yeah, Furman and Wilson 17th and 18th. You think the amount of rain we get in our country, we're always racing in the rain, but it didn't work out well for those two today. And that was, you know, there's still a chance to do something better than you should do, whatever the conditions, whatever the circumstances. And another missed opportunity for Justin, which is a shame. I so want him to keep that drive next year. There's a lot of British supporters behind him, a lot of investors as well, of course, of British Formula One fans. But at the moment, he's not showing up well.
Here comes the Dane, Nicolas Chiesa, the last man to run here this afternoon. In the second of the two European Minardis. He is going to get a lap in from the looks of things. Goes across the start-finish line now, and interestingly, Minardi did a back-to-back test last week of using the Arrows chassis that they bought in the fire sale, which of course were powered by the same engine, the same Cosworth engine that this race car here is powered by, and they wanted to see get a few pointers for their design for next year's car, and in fact they found that this car was quicker than the Arrows in the back-to-back, which is not altogether surprising, but it's given them a bit of an idea of which way to go for next year, how they can improve the quality of this car for next year. So that was believed to have been a worthwhile exercise.
Chiesa was quicker than Wilson in the first sector. He, of course, is on Bridgestone tyres. Looks a fairly solid lap. He's done okay, actually, Chiesa, hasn't he? He's not really shone in this car. The young guy that appears to be shining is young Bruni, yes, who's in on the Friday morning, the third man, if you like, on the free 2-hour practice they get on a Friday morning, and he's certainly looking a bit handy.
Yes, Gian Maria Bruni from Rome. I remember Richard Dutton, who runs the Fortec Formula 3 team, he ran him in F3 in Britain, telling me that he was a very hot prospect a couple of years ago, and he's been going very, very well in the testing session, rather hoping that he might get the nod to do the whole weekend. It hasn't happened. Chiesa goes across the line, and he is propping up the order. He's just behind Justin Wilson. So, Jarno Trulli fastest, Rubens Barrichello second. It's going to be very, very interesting tomorrow, Martin, isn't it, to see what the weather conditions do as much as anything else. I mean, if we have any kind of rain-affected session like today, we'll have a very topsy-turvy grid. But even if we have a completely normal session, a completely dry session where the conditions are more or less the same, the track will get faster and faster as the hour goes on. And that's bad news for Michael Schumacher, who'll be 8th from last, and there'll be another 2 cars between him and championship rival Juan Montoya.
Yes, and interestingly, all 3 championship contenders have their teammates faster than them this afternoon, therefore running after them tomorrow. And that's going to be an interesting strategy to see what they're going to do and how they're going to have to pace themselves for the championship itself to help their teammates.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, James. There is the running order for qualifying 2. The 2 Minardis out first. Very tough conditions for half the field here today. And running down the list, Jenson Button going 11th. Michael Schumacher 13th. Montoya goes 16th. And, of course, Jarno Trulli will go last.